Hello everyone. This video is going to be showing how to use an enum as a data key, and we'll call it data key. So cd data key, mv source main, mv is just my shortcut for neovim. First thing I want to do is do an enum, and I'll call it data key. I'm doing this from memory, honestly. So yeah, right. So what I'm going to use a data key for is to store or capture whether it's a user, an admin, and just for a bit of variety, I'm going to add guest. So just to show that enums can take different types, we'll add a guest that has a string. So now I want to do a struct, which will be, I'm going to call it client, as in server client, or. So I'm just going to call it kind. And I'm going to store some key value pairs. And I'm going to store a string. And we will need to do this because we've got user admin and guest obviously is a string, but we will later on, we will need to convert not convert, sort of transpose user and admin to string. So this is a good practice for working with data keys and using match and using impls. So we need to do an impl client, same name as the struct. And let's make some functions. So we'll have a new function, as we often do, and then we'll have update. New and update are kind of my go-to function names for sort of this type of thing. Right, so new, which typically returns self, and self, yeah, drop down autocomplete is handy here. And then I will do a new hash map. We can start to implement this. So let's client lowercase equal client new. We're off to the races already. That's I know there's a lot of gobbledygook there, but that's there we go. Right, okay, so we've done new, and then the interesting part here for this video really is using update. So we will take self, and I'm really typing this from scratch. So learning Rust is me trying to not just memorize, but obviously learn concepts, memorize some examples, and then once I've memorized some basic examples, that's almost like a child learning a language. And once you've memorized 5,000 words and you know what they mean, then you can start building some pretty decent sentences, can't you? So, okay, self, and then we're going to pass in, we're going to call it here, we'll just call it key stir, because it's going to be the data key of type data key. So it's going to be the user admin or guest, and that's what ultimately will become the string of the key. So key stir, we will take the data key with a match. We will then convert it into a string, and then the string will then fit inside the hash map as the key, and that's the whole point of using an enum. An enum is the key, but because the hash map needs a string, we take the key, the variant of the enum, and we will here. Let me just do this first. Val, which will be in, we just have I32. So here we will do we'll say let key, which will be the key that we insert into our hash map, equal key stir. Oh, we need to do match. So match key stir. So we're going to match on the key stir, depending on which of the three variants we're working with, that will return us a different answer. So we need to do data key user. and that will go to user, and then we have to convert it to a string because that's what the hash map needs. Then we'll do data key guest. I want to we'll just do admin first because that's probably better order. So admin. So what this is doing is it's just a toy example which is going to capture a user, an admin, or a guest, and effectively it'd be like writing it to a log. And then we can pass it a string here. So I'm just going to call it text because effectively the text is just like a little what's a variable in that? So then that goes to, this is where we need to use format because the match needs to return things which are the same. So that should work. And we need to close that because that's a let. So we're actually setting up that there. So we've created the variable, but then we actually have to insert it into the hash map. So then we will need to do, what is hash map? Yeah, so then it's self dot insert self dot kind insert, and then we pass the key, which will be key, and val, which is the val that we pass in. So we don't need to do anything with that. And yeah, it's telling me because we're not returning anything, so we'll just use that there. And not mutable, so we need to make it mutable when we pass it in. There we go. Right, I hope that makes sense. What we've done is an update method which takes a copy of the cell of itself, and then we pass in an enum and a value, and the enum gets converted to a string, which becomes the key in our hash map, and the val is just the val as is. So if we now do, we need to make this. We need to make this mutable. Then we will do client dot update, and then we'll pass in. So we need to pass in a data key, which we could do user, admin, or guest. Let's just do guest because that's got a string, which is a nice way of demoing it. And then we could put in the person's name, so Joe, and then the value, which could be 90. Oh, expected a string found ampersand stir. There's two ways we could do this. Could I do key to string? That's already a string when it reaches here. So that should be a string. Oh, because when it's expecting a string. So should I be making? Could I make that a stir? Then we certainly do in lifetime, so we don't want to do that. Let's just keep it with string. Yeah, that's always the thing. If you don't want to really get too deep into lifetimes, we can just change it to a string there. And there we go, we're off to the races. So just put that on the end. And then if we just do print and print the client, and then we'll need to do derive debug on the struct. Just for printing purposes. Good, right, okay. So now if we run this, we should get a hash map with Joe 90. There we go. That is how to use enum to sort of enforce the correct data type and then process the enum variant to a string, which is then usable in a hash map. So let's if we just add somebody else. Or 10 There we go. So we're gradually building up. You got Bob 10. Obviously, because it's hash map, it's not sorted. You could use a B tree map if you wanted it sorted. And then what else could you do from here? You could just practice converting a hash map to a tuple or a tuple to a hash map. Up to you. That's just a couple of ideas, and there we go. So that's how to use an enum and hash map together. So I will be doing some more bigger projects soon. So stay tuned, come back soon and subscribe and all that. The next project or projects may well be using something called Rig. So Rig is an AI framework which is very user friendly and compatible with multiple LLMs. So yeah, I'll be back with that soon. Until then, thanks for watching, subscribe, comment and all that. Thank you.